It's somehow that time of year again to review all the Let's Play series and videos that came out on this channel, Good Ol' Days Gaming. So what did I think of 2022 overall? Well, I'll be honest with you, it was one of the toughest years yet, probably the toughest year. With many of the classics already covered on this channel since as early as 2017, I was forced to buy a lot of games I never played before, and I also banked on the PlayStation 5 attracting some interest, something I promised ever since I launched a Patreon page in an effort to add some variety to this mostly Nintendo-focused channel. So on one hand, I'm proud of myself for surviving another 365 days with near-daily content completely different from all the other years. But on the other hand, I'm upset at a lackluster year and worried how long I can keep this ship afloat as support for the channel continues to wane from its better times. But all worries aside, let's take a quick look back at all I did in 2022 and my thoughts on each Let's Play. January kicked off strong with the long-awaited Legend of Zelda, Oracle of Seasons, and Oracle of Ages. It was nice to finally experience these masterpieces for the first time and see just what I had missed out on as a kid. And I'm glad those who watch only for Zelda content got some enjoyment out of it. I think I enjoyed Seasons more than Ages, but Ages definitely had better dungeon design. I'm happy with the commentary across all these videos and overall mark it as a success, and I'm glad it's now there in my playlist archives. The Oracle games were followed up by a playthrough of Batman on the NES, something I had been wanting to do for a long time solely for the music. I still say some of the best Let's Plays on YouTube are casual playthroughs of 8-bit games, and this nestles somewhere in that camp nicely. Batman was followed up with the only co-op playthrough my friend Ryan and I got to do this year, Streets of Rage 2 on the Genesis. You know I always love the chance to play old games with my best friend, and this one fits well into the playlist of all the other games we've recorded together the past few years. Finally, January ended with a review video for Kena Bridge of Spirits on the PlayStation 4. This was one of my more ambitious review videos that I absolutely wanted to get done in the event that one day I could show an employer things I've done without feeling embarrassed. It's still not perfect quality like a paid journalist, but I love getting an opportunity to get some practice in as if that was my job. And it's one of the extremely few videos I'm not ashamed to show to the world, even to intimidating professional figures. This opened the door to February, which predictably started with a casual playthrough of Kena Bridge of Spirits. I loved this game, but I only wish I waited until I had a PS5 to cover it, as the performance difference is massive, and my PlayStation 4 was starting to have some issues. Nevertheless, the choppy frame rate and spots did not ruin the fun I had with this game. I think I even said during the playthrough that it was the most enjoyment I felt from a game since being a kid. February then continued with what I mark as my Let's Play of the year for 2022, Super Mario World. Why it took me until now to finally record this game is beyond me. I think I wanted to do it multiplayer, but since years passed and it never happened, I finally just decided to do it single player. It's a monumental game for my personal gaming history, it's easygoing, and it's just a great time. It almost unfairly takes home the gold trophy this year because the game itself creates a comforting atmosphere before my commentary even comes in. So absolutely, Super Mario World is my favorite thing that I did this year. That said though, Super Mario World is an old game that's very short and it ended after just 1 week, paving way for random one-off videos of Mortal Kombat Trilogy on the N64. I mostly just played as the male ninjas and the robots, and I did my best to show off the combos and finishers for each. I enjoyed revisiting this game, as I played it quite a lot as a kid, and the super short video format works well anytime I think, just like that 8-bit idea that I was saying. And the last video of February was another video essay that I'm proud of, Star Fox Command Beyond the Garbage. It's a stupid title, but in this video, I discussed all the good ideas hidden deep within Star Fox Command despite it being a bad game overall. As I've said countless times, I love making videos where I have to compile footage and write a script, and I stand by this one. Check it out if you missed it. March began with a casual playthrough of Star Fox Command, go figure. I'm proud of this one for a few reasons. First, I shortened it into a watchable format much like back when I did Harvest Moon 64. Second, it's the first Nintendo DS game I covered on the channel, and I'm content with the screen layout. Not many people would brave the masses with this game, so I'm happy to say that this Star Fox fan has one of the more concise playlists on it. Whether people watch it or not, it looks good there in the archives. And who you gonna watch play Star Fox Command? Some dope or a true Star Fox fan? That's right. March marched on with Luigi's Mansion 3. This game looks beautiful, and while not everything about it is as good as the GameCube original, I still enjoyed exploring the hotel and seeing the creative themes of each floor. It was sort of a weird time of the year to cover this game though, but I was already running out of ideas, and it was on sale at the time, I believe. I would say overall I'm happy with the commentary on this one too. Mario games help a lot with keeping a happy mood, so Luigi's Mansion 3 just kinda nestled in the middle there. It's alright, it's not the best, but it's good. Finally, March ended with another video essay, this time talking about Starlink Battle for Atlas, and whether or not it saved the Star Fox franchise, as so many weirdos on the internet so boldly claim. It has a lot of opinion in it though, from the angle of a Star Fox fan, as my objective was to shoot down the notion that it was a Star Fox game at all, and dispel beliefs that the Star Fox franchise is dead, and in need of Ubisoft of all people to come save it. It was fun to have another video essay to do, but maybe it's not fully my best, as it's hard to scream your opinion into the internet. But I did it, by gosh. April. This was a weird time where I was working on tons of videos and scheduling them months out, not sure what I wanted to actually come out next. So first up ended up being a one-off video of Soul Calibur 2, playing as Link. Once upon a time I played this game a lot, so it was neat to revisit it for a very brief moment. But the first real series of April came with my 4th Wind Waker randomizer. As always anymore, this was done to try to inject some juice into my dying channel, and I have no memory of anything other than that it felt nice to see Wind Waker again compared to all the other Zelda stuff. It was during this time that my sister helped me score a PlayStation 5, so Wind Waker was immediately followed by Astro's Playroom. This was a cute adventure that really impressed me and felt like Christmas morning. I fully believe that in several years, people are going to look back at Astro's Playroom and its soundtrack with massive nostalgia lenses, as it was a great celebration of PlayStation and a welcome gift to your brand new console. It just has a feeling, man, and I think people are gonna remember that feeling. Coinciding with Astro's Playroom, I did a couple videos of Gran Turismo 7 before I traded the game back in. It was neat to experience a real racing sim for the first time in decades for me personally. And my favorite video was absolutely the one where I did all I could to make a crap DeLorean win a Daytona race. Unfortunately, the game didn't have much longevity to me, and I quickly saw it as a mistake of a purchase. So I traded it in. Anyway, April continued with a series I'm super happy about, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, on the Game Boy Advance. I had never played this one, but was pleased to find it felt like an arcade game catered to the single player, chock full of special moves and inputs to keep the combat from getting too stale. I also enjoyed trying to voice act the turtles and the thugs, and I just think the overall cartoon feel lends well to a casual watching experience. It might not be Super Mario World, but it's a cartoon, and it's happy, and it's got toidles in it. Now we come to May. May fought hard with a new contender to try to capture audience interest instead of desperately crawling back to Zelda again, as I always do. Pokemon Fire Red started, which is a very nice remake of the original game that I grew up with. The only downside of this series is that I used a rare candy code to speed up leveling for the sake of everyone's time, and some people really disliked that. Overall, I don't think it ruined the series though, and I stand by my decision to favor audience time over a legitimate grinding of RNG mechanics. I enjoyed it while playing, but some of the reactions to that code tainted the overall experience, so I don't really see the Let's Play as a success. It's there, it's kinda good, it's kinda happy, but if you really hate that code, you're probably just gonna innately hate the whole thing. I followed Fire Red up with a one-off of Pokemon Stadium, which really lost its luster over the years in my opinion. I only had enough patience for it for that one video. But next up in May, with high anticipation for Splatoon 3, I started redoing what I once did in 2017, Splatoon 2. The videos from 2017 are all deleted, but these newer ones still exist for casual watching. I briefly enjoyed coming back to it, but soon learned I'm way out of my element with online competitive games, and the viewer interest for these videos quite simply did not exist at all. So sadly, it's another example where I was super happy about the Sploosh-O-Matic and having a good time, but kinda just talking to myself. So in an effort to get back to the core of the channel, I went back to the NES days and recorded Punch-Out! I had been waiting a long time to do this, but just kept not putting the practice in. In the end, I didn't beat Mr. Dream, or Mike Tyson if you want to call him that, but overall I'm glad it's now here to accompany all the other NES classics I covered on the channel. Somehow there was still more days in May, and it kept going with F-Zero GX, a series I actually recorded months prior to this release date. Due to the intense difficulty of the story mode of this game though, I once again resorted to cheats just to rush to the good parts, which is always a risky gamble and I'm sure some people hated it. The series overall is not as good as my Let's Play of F-Zero X on N64, but it was neat to give it a quick go. And finally, last in May, after heavy pondering, I finally decided to give Starlink Battle for Atlas a full playthrough. My bitterness for the game still stands overall, but I approached the videos happily, and was quite pleased with the Starwolf DLC. I'm glad that I played it because now in some weird light I can say I've played every single Star Fox game, even though I still firmly say this is not Star Fox. The banter was well done, however, and I did appreciate the cinematics and the effort that at its very best offered great suggestions for future Star Fox titles. I think it's worth checking out at least once. And now we come to June. Once again at a loss of ideas, I started the month with a vanilla playthrough of Super Metroid, something that was long overdue on this channel despite how many randomizers of it I've done. While it was not my best run or a speed run by any means, I hope that people enjoyed it. It's still my favorite game of all time, and it's fun pretty much anytime. Super Metroid was followed up by just a few episodes of Advance Wars 2. Due to the turn-based nature of the game and extremely high difficulty later on, I anticipated little audience interest and just kinda stopped recording it. It was nice to revisit and remember the days of laying in bed, eating Pop-Tarts, and designing multiplayer maps, but it's a very niche game that's hard to Let's Play. Like I said, I just kinda gave up on it, and I don't know that I'll ever go back to it, maybe, but I find myself, for a lot of these kinds of things, saying, what's the point? So at this point, we were halfway through the year and struggling hard. So I once again caved in and did a Majora's Mask randomizer, calling it the final one. Whether that is true remains to be seen, but that's what I called it. From what I remember, the mood was happy enough, so at least it was not one of the cranky ones, and I think there may have been a couple new settings applied too. But randomizers are an exhausted thing on this channel, so I don't even remember them in detail anymore. Majora's Mask was followed by Spider-Man Miles Morales on PlayStation 5. I was highly anticipating this game as a fan of the PS4 Spider-Man, but just like my series on that one, this one went nowhere. I found they are single-serving games, good the first time through, then totally dead once it's done. This may attribute to low audience interest, as maybe others had already seen it and didn't care anymore either. Nevertheless, it was fun to experience the game, even if it wasn't as good as the first one in my opinion. Now we come to July, which was mostly quiet. I did these weird videos analyzing the lyrics of my favorite band, the Gaslight Anthem, totally unrelated to gaming. Then eventually Stray came out on PlayStation 5, which was another low-performing series that at least gave me the opportunity to write another review. But much like Spider-Man, the replay value for this game basically doesn't exist, which in turn likely affects watchability on the global scale, not just for me. So Stray is there, it was nice to experience for a brief moment, but it might just sit there for eternity now. Fast forward to August, which saw a small spark in energy to make up for July, kicking off with Ratchet & Clank on PlayStation 4 and 5, as well as a vanilla run of GoldenEye 007. GoldenEye did alright enough, but the fun factor was somewhere in the middle, being that it's another game I covered a lot on this channel already. Ratchet & Clank, however, was a really fun time and some of the most fun I've had with a game in a while. But the videos bombed! I think overall the series is happy and fun and it's a decent Let's Play, but it seems the viewer interest once again is just not there. I at least got another video review out of it, still always hoping to beef up some proverbial portfolio. As Clank himself might say, oh dear. Next, I did a one-off video of Solar Jetman on the NES, a game I frequently talk about and had been meaning to cover. It's a brutally difficult game though, and instead of giving it a full series, I just did the one-off, knowing that the interest for it wouldn't really be there anyway. So there you go, a little spaceship Wizhu game. Then, Nintendo released Wave Race 64 on Nintendo Switch Online, giving me a selfish excuse to replay the game even though I already covered it a couple times on the channel. And then I followed that up with replaying Wave Race Blue Storm on the GameCube, another series I already did a Let's Play of years prior, but I just had to get my fix of it again. Which series now is actually the better one is anybody's guess. And you know what? In the future, next year, 2023, all Wave Race. Every January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, Wave Race. Best year ever. Anyway, lastly in August, the world premiere of Splatoon 3 released, and I covered that in the first Splatfest. But, just like Splatoon 2, there was little interest, a reaction that was enough to make me change my plans and not even buy the full game once it launched. Maybe sometime in the future, but it's kind of unlikely now if that's how it's gonna be. September was another quiet looking back at the dismantling of everything, and I decided to do a vanilla playthrough of Ocarina of Time. It hadn't been done on the channel yet, and even though I'm burnt out on all the randomizers, I didn't know what else to do, and I went into it happy to revisit the masterpiece that blew all of our minds back in 1998. It did about as well as I could hope these days, reaching an audience interest that I often wish applied to some of my other series as well, but still not quite reaching the heights of some of my older content. I think overall it's a happy series on its own, even if the reason for doing it was kinda more financial desperation than anything else. That doesn't come through in the actual videos though. It's kinda really only a secret backstory you get in this video. Now we come to October, and I went away, but not before gambling with another PlayStation 5 game with slight horror elements for the theme of the month, Death Stranding. This weird game from Kojima is a mixed bag not for everyone, but I oddly enjoyed it once I got into it. I don't think I'll ever go back to it now, but it's there and maybe some of you got some enjoyment out of its weirdness too. I apologize though on its behalf for how long and drawn out of a game it is. It's definitely not an easy thing to binge watch. November saw the end of Death Stranding quite early in the month and then stayed completely quiet as I still hadn't returned home from my time away. I spent the whole month at a loss of what to do next, convinced that this channel is dead and over with along with the Patreon page, and I passed the idle time by playing Skyrim just for the heck of it. Then my flight home came, as well as December, and without a clue otherwise of what to do, I decided to put my practice to use and record a full series of Skyrim on PlayStation 5. It was nice to finally experience this game that I somehow avoided for a decade, and it oddly somehow now fits into the concept of good old days for some people. So it wasn't a total waste of time or anything, and I'm glad for all who tuned in and got some enjoyment from it. Skyrim in its nature is a series that could go on forever really, but we have to be reasonable at some point. So there you have it. That was the very rocky 2022 on this channel. Definitely not the best year, but we survived yet again and forced ourselves into new experiences, furthering the playlist archives on the channel only for the better. The future from here, though, is a frightening mystery, begging for changes. So let's just wait and see on that, what becomes of Good Old Days Gaming in 2023. Thank you all for tuning in and your continued support in all I do. It's because of you that I can keep doing this at all, and so I thank you immensely from the bottom of my heart. I hope you have a very happy new year, and take care.